All right, well, good evening. I'm Bess Wallerstein-Huff, and I'm the Director of Marketing and Community Outreach at the Kaufman Center for the Performing Arts. And I am delighted to serve as a moderator for this evening with our Kansas City Ballet's first dancer chat of the season. Dancer chats are presented by the Kansas City Ballet's Community Engagement and Education Department and is a community engagement and educational series that engages the broader public with professional dancers at the Kansas City Ballet. This evening's chat features Kalina Burks, Taryn Miha, and Cameron Thomas, three professional dancers from Kansas City Ballet, and you will find links to their bios posted on the ballet's Facebook page. And I'd like to share just a little bit about our panel as we get started. So Kalina Burks was raised in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where she received training from the Magda Onion and Magali, is that right? Magali Suarez. Ms. Burks has danced with Cincinnati Ballet, Columbia Classical Ballet, and the Cuban Classical Ballet of Miami. She joined Kansas City Ballet in 2010 and has been honored to dance the role of Sugar Plum Fairy at the Kennedy Center with the Kansas City Ballet's tour of the Nutcracker in 2017, as well as many other wonderful roles in Kansas City. Taryn Mejia was born in Kansas City, Missouri, and received a majority of her training on full scholarship at the Kansas City Ballet School and the School of American Ballet, performing Waltz Girl and George Balanchine Serenade for the SAB workshop. Miss Mejia was given her corps de ballet contract with the New York City Ballet and performed in numerous Balanchine and Jerome Robbins ballets. She joined the Kansas City Ballet in 2012 and is in her 9th season with the company. And then finally, last but not least, Cameron Thomas began his dance training in his hometown of Rochester, New York. In 2013, he began performing regularly with the Rochester City Ballet. In 2015, Mr. Thomas received a full scholarship to attend the Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis School at American Ballet Theater. He then joined Kansas City Ballet for Ballet 2 for the 2016 and 2017 season and was promoted to the ballet or to the company the following season and is now in his 6th season with the Kansas City Ballet. In addition to being a dancer, Mr. Thomas is a pianist and has accompanied for the Kansas City Ballet School, Oklahoma City Ballet School, the Williams Henry Contemporary Dance Company, and the Worldwide Ballet Zoom classes. During the COVID-19 pandemic, Cameron co-founded Creative Intersections, which is an outdoor performance project with James Kirby Rogers to bring live dance back in a time when theaters were shut down. As a choreographer, Mr. Thomas has created work for Creative Intersections and for the Kansas City Ballet. So thank you, you three. You're so accomplished. It's so wonderful to have you here this evening to chat with us just about what you're doing right now, what you're working on, and would love to just kind of jump in and start, Kalina, with you of why did you choose to dance as a career, specifically ballet?
My mother, I have a pretty typical story. My mother put me in ballet when I was 3 years old, and she actually was a dancer herself when she was younger. But as she would say, she never had the body. And she also discovered ballet when she was a junior in high school. She was proficient in jazz and tap, and she fell in love with ballet. And she was so sad that she felt like she never had the opportunity to dance. So she put me in ballet when I was 3 years old. And little did I know, I fell in love with movement. I love expressing myself through dance. And my mother always says she's living vicariously through me, and she got to experience her dreams through her daughter.
It's wonderful. Cameron, what about you?
I sort of fell into dance. I was in a bunch of sports and I was bad at all of them except for gymnastics, which I took to a little bit and enjoyed. And through that, I was forced into a ballet class every week and found that to be the most fun of anything I'd ever done. I did a production of The Nutcracker in Rochester, where I grew up, and it was pretty much curtains after that. I had a bunch of very important people to me tell me that I could become a professional if I worked really hard. And so I was lucky to have the right people at the right moments and go to a good school and find the right place for me here at Kansas City. So that's kind of how it happened for me.
Love it. Taryn, how about you?
Started at 3 and kind of just loved it ever since. I think my parents said I got into it because I was just so busy around the house. They needed something to get my energy out and put me in dance classes, and it stuck since. I did my professional career and then actually left ballet for 6 years, just for my own thing, went to college and missed it so much I came back. So
That's awesome. And then you've instilled a love of ballet in your children, right? Are they both in ballet?
just my youngest. My older one does sports. She's in volleyball at school. So my younger one is pretty intense into the ballet at this point and is excited to perform with us again.
Yes, and it's her birthday today.
Today.
10?
And she's 10 today.
Okay, so everybody joining us, please wish Mackenzie a happy 10th birthday. And that's so great that,
Love you.
yeah, she has you as a role model as she kind of blooms in her dance career. That's so great. So where you guys kind of talked about, some of your training, but I'm interested to know, where was your first job as a professional dancer? There's always kind of this crazy time when you're like, hey, I've done all the schooling and now I'm moving into a professional career. So when did you really feel like, hey, I've arrived and it is my profession? Cameron, do you want to start us?
Well, besides like small gigs at schools, like one-off things, my first contract was here actually in the second company. I was fortunate, as you mentioned, I went to school in New York for a year and a half or so. And by virtue of being in New York, everyone comes to you, which is really nice. And so I was in a position where I could just hit every audition in the book and clicked with Devin and clicked with Kansas City Ballet upon coming here. And it all happens so quickly. Everyone has this story, I think, of like you have a plan and then all of a sudden an opportunity knocks and it's really fast and overwhelming. And I like moved halfway across the country and scared the crap out of my parents, but that's how it goes. So I found the second company contract here and then I've been here ever since. That's how it happened for me. Yeah.
That's awesome. Taryn, what about you?
I got my first job with New York City Ballet. After being at SAB, you kind of filter right into that company. And I was there for 3 years. And then, like I said, I left and took a hiatus from dance. And then being originally from Kansas City, whenever I felt like it was time to come back to dance, I reached out to the director here who I had known growing up. And of course, he was like, yes, come audition. Like, let's see where you're at. Let's see if you can still do this. And of course, I wasn't fully in shape and ready to take this career on, but he had enough confidence in me and he knows my personality that I wasn't just gonna kind of ease in and not work hard, but he knew that I would push myself to be where I needed to be. And so he took that chance and gave me a job.
That's so cool. I love that you took, some time off and then kind of came back and, it's like you have probably a new appreciation for it when you're a little bit older and was able to have a different perspective. Kalina, what about you?
So actually, I did a ballet competition when I was 17 years old, and one of the judges was Devin Carney. And he offered me a traineeship with Cincinnati Ballet at the time. He was with the ballet master at Cincinnati Ballet. And my parents were determined that I had to finish high school. So I waited a year and I re-auditioned at Cincinnati Ballet and I got an apprenticeship. So funny enough that I went to Kansas City Ballet later on in my career whenever William Whitener was still the director. And then Devin came and joined me here and we've kind of met paths again in our career and it's been wonderful.
Very small world.
You all three have, you've got great education. This is a long journey. I would love to hear if there's a young person watching who has aspirations to be you one day, what advice do you have for them? Taryn, do you want to maybe share since you have an aspiring young dancer at home?
I just make sure that she loves it. Like, it's a fun career. It's also really hard, especially through the last pandemic. We all had this moment of like, we love this job and we love what we do. So you've really got to have that passion and that drive to get through. But honestly, if you love it, just keep working towards it.
Kalina, what about you?
A really big thing for me that I would give advice to a younger dancer is to don't judge yourself by the pace of another dancer next to you. Everybody has their own time. Things fall into place at different times for different people. And just stay true to what you want and who you are. Keep working, and one day it will happen for you. And it might be later than a friend, it might be earlier, but just keep working.
Yeah, Cameron, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think those are amazing pieces of advice, and this is sort of in the same vein as that. But of course, like the technical threshold is very, very high and getting higher all the time. So you have to be good at the sort of mechanics of dance. But what I think both of them are saying, and what I would definitely say, is that what sets you apart will be your ability to be an artist, to love what you do and show that and express that through movement. And that is very personal. That's not having to do with anyone else or anyone else's ability, or even your own ability. In some ways, it has a lot to do with how you're able to communicate without words, which is it's a hard thing to articulate, but it's very true that what sets you apart, given that you have, you know, the hard work and the technique needed to succeed, what sets you apart is going to be you, which is like the most special thing about what we do, for sure.
Yeah. Well, and you're also a choreographer, so you've been sort of on both sides as well,
Yeah.
you know, as a dancer and then a choreographer. So I'm curious to know, what's the major difference there, and what do you enjoy more, and what's maybe more challenging, choreographing or dancing someone else's choreography?
It's hard. I mean, I'm definitely still learning as a choreographer. It's a relatively new development within the last couple of years, but I've had a lot of fun and I'm definitely passionate about it. And it is very different. It's a very different exercise. Obviously working with movement, but in dance, you are an interpreter of what the person at the front of the room is telling you or is asking for you. And you are a person. So obviously you have input. So they're not completely divorced from each other, but as the choreographer, what you have to do is communicate that. Instead of receiving it, you're giving it. And leading the room is, you know, daunting in and of itself, just being the leader of a process or of a project, and then having an idea, producing from within, and then communicating that to a group of dancers. I found that to be really challenging, but it's really, really special if you can work with people who you enjoy working with and have something that you care about that you're trying to say or to express, or even just a piece of music that you love or something like that. I love both of them. I don't know. They're challenging in such different ways that I don't think I could say either or, but I mean, dancing is very hard because you're dancing and it's hard and you're trying to get in the mind of the choreographer. And as a choreographer, you're trying to understand your dancers and get the best out of them and stay true to whatever your vision is. I love both aspects of it, but it's definitely the art part in choreography and the understanding as a dancer are sort of different in that way.
Yeah, and you know, it's so interesting, and what I've just have always found fascinating, because I've directed some musicals, which is not at all like ballet, but working with a choreographer, and there really isn't words for all the movements that you do. So how do you write that down, you know, record it somewhere and then bring it to life? It's truly remarkable to me how what that process is, and just how it's really kind of an unspoken, you know, language that choreographers just kind of pick up, and how to communicate. You guys have to be excellent communicators to keep all that information in your head and music in your head, and it's pretty special. So kudos to all of you for doing that. Well, it's really exciting that you know, the season is starting at the Kaufman Center, and I know we've had this long intermission, and I would just love to hear what is going through your mind right now as you're thinking about returning to live indoor performances, and of course, what is it like to perform at the Kaufman Center? You have performed, you know, many places. would love to hear. Kalina, do you want to share?
Yes, of course. I was actually in the opening of the Kaufman Center show. So for me, very much the Kaufman Center stage is home. I've danced on a lot of stages throughout my career, but none more than the Kaufman Center. And it just, everything about it to me, when I dance, I step on stage, the lights, looking into the audience, I feel at home. There's no other way to put it. And I've missed it so much more than I can express. I had an interesting coincidence that whenever our last show with the Kansas City Ballet before the shutdown happened was Swan Lake, and I was looking right after Swan Lake to get hip surgery. So I had an interesting foresight of knowing that I wasn't going to be on the Kaufman stage for a while. It was going to be about a 9-month rehab. And so I had already had in my head that I wasn't going to be on the stage for a few productions, and it was going to be heartbreaking to miss it, but necessary for my career to continue. But little did we know how long that was going to happen. So it's just been a long awaited moment to get back on the stage. And I'm so thankful that I had the time to recover from my hip surgery so that I can be in this production of Celts and Serenade and Wonderland that we are doing, because originally I would have had to have missed it, which would have been heartbreaking because these three ballets are so beautiful. And I really enjoy, I'm dancing in Serenade, which you can see in the photo here. I'm doing Waltz Girl. This is one of the final moments in the ballet. One of the moments that I love, when she gets to take her hair down and really feel free. And then I'm also dancing in Wonderland, which is an Edward Liang ballet.
Awesome. Taryn, what about you?
Like Kalina said, the Kaufman is home for us, and just stepping away from it for so long, like it's definitely been a challenge trying to dance and realize like that live audience is not there. You don't get that adrenaline rush that you normally get hearing the audience, hearing the live music. Like we miss the symphony. Yeah, we're there so much. We know the crew guys by name. I mean, it's our home. And so it's been sad to not see those people, to not be in the theater. I think we've all worked so hard to stay in shape and get ready for this production, and we're really excited for next week. I think not only are we just excited to be back on that stage and to hear the music again, but I think it's going to be really emotional for all of us, but I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah.
I might add to that. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, please do.
Oh, I think they're speaking so beautifully to like the gravitas and all the big things that mean so much to us to come to the Kaufman. And those are like, there's going to be like waterworks on the first day. But I also want to mention, it's just like a really nice theater. We've had so much experience over the past few years dancing in different spaces, museums, other things that are beautiful spaces, and amazing to see how dance works in those spaces. I mean, I founded a performance project outside, so I get the idea of moving to new spaces and seeing where dance takes us in the pandemic. But the Kaufman is just so nice. The dressing rooms are spacious and nice, and the wings are nice, and the floor is sprung and ready to dance on. And those are things that don't seem like a big deal, but from a dancer's perspective, you're just eliminating so many things that are not having to do with the dance. And so we can just go and feel comfortable and focus 100% of our energy on exactly what we want to be doing. And that is a luxury, like a small luxury from our perspective, but it's a big one. It's meaningful, even aside from all of the like big emotions of coming back to our home stage and our home base.
Yeah, it's like a family reunion. I love this. I think when you think about how difficult this last 18 months have been, it's just you're away from all of an environment that you really do feel is your home. And the people who make that family, and it is really special to have a space where you are, performing on a stage that was built specifically for your art form. And that's, that just only enhances, of course, everything that you guys bring to the performance. Kind of talking about that shutdown, I'm so interested, you guys you dance hours and hours a day. I'd love to know just kind of what your schedule is like when you're doing, when you're getting ready, because you mentioned that's been a lot of hard work, of course, but how also did you stay in shape during that time, without having space to do it, and also just the time and other people to perform with. Cameron, do you want to start us off?
Yes, would love to. I'm a big dork, but I love rock climbing. I found rock climbing and it's like saved me. There was a year or so where we weren't working and obviously we weren't performing, and it was like hard to find motivation to keep going. And cross training has saved a lot of us. And I found rock climbing is like a new hobby of mine. I think it's the best. It's so fun. It helps balance and core strength and a lot of muscls that are applicable to ballet. In the dance realm, there were so many Zoom classes. All of us have studios in our apartments now, which I think is kind of fun. And we basically just, everyone has their own routine that they carry within themselves during the season when we work 9-hour days, and you maintain that and just to reach for anything. A lot of us got fairly creative with the ways in which we were able to stay dancing, new spaces, things like that. And then obviously the Kansas City Ballet with our New Move series last year, we're making dance in our studios in the morning and everywhere we could find in the city in the afternoon, which was really kind of exciting. It was an adventure for sure. And only makes coming back all that much more sweet, just to be back in spaces and routines that make us the best version of ourselves, because it definitely was hard, but we kept going. I don't know.
Well, 9 hours a day. Is that the same for you, Polina? Were you 9 hours a day?
Well, at times, yes. At times, like I said, I had that hip surgery. So I was in a different type of work. I was rehabbing. I was in a physical therapist for a long time. And so the work was a little different for me, but it was definitely as rigorous and as I hate to say it, but grueling. You know, mentally, it was really hard on a lot of us to find that inner motivation to keep going and not knowing when there was an end. And I think as a company, all of us handled it really well. And we really leaned on each other to get us through and to find day-to-day motivation. And I think without all of us having each other, it would have been really hard to know that we weren't just the only ones going through. You would feel so isolated, of course, throughout the whole experience, but you weren't the only one experiencing what you were experiencing. Your friends were, your coworkers were. And it was nice to feel like you were in it together, and that one day, there had to be one day that we would get out of it, and here we are.
That's awesome. Well, I know that the recovery process, and I mean, it's like you probably had double work during a really like stressful, difficult time. So kudos to you for being able to overcome so much. Taryn, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. And also, you know, you have children, and so that probably kind of curbed some of your time that you might otherwise devote, since there was a lockdown for a while. Would love to just hear your experience, you know, as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, when we went into everything, we're used to class in the morning and then 6 hours of dancing a day. So you go from all of that dancing to all of a sudden you're stuck at home. We all handled it pretty well. And when we started Zoom classes, it was great. Like we all loved it. We got kind of, you know, Zoom classes. Then we all started to get a little frustrated with it because I was in a tiny little apartment trying to find a place to dance on shag carpet. No one wants to turn on shag carpet. I mean,
I'm not sure there's much that needs to be done on shag carpet.
Yeah, Marley is king compared to shag carpet.
And just so you know, I know what Marley is, but there might be people watching who don't. Can you explain what that is and like why it's helpful for you?
Oh, Marley is the special floor we dance on. It's a little bit like rubber texture, and it's sprung so that when we jump, it absorbs the shock a little bit and it's less wear and tear on our body. Whereas my apartment was not built for that and it was concrete underneath. So jumping was minimal. So a lot of us lost our jumping muscles. Turning, I couldn't really put point shoes on carpet. So also I would walk around in my shoes, but we started to lose those calluses, like things we took for granted for so long. We just couldn't do. For me in particular, it got really challenging because I was in lockdown, and as a single parent with 2 kids, as most parents know, we all became homeschool parents.
Right.
So I had 2 kids and was walking them through their entire school days to finish out the school year while also hoping to stay in shape, thinking we would start back soon. So I would kind of shut myself in the smallest room in the house, but tell the kids they could stop doing their homework and watch some TV for a while so I could like get something in for me. I fell in love with bar 3 and did a lot of that to cross train. So I found ways to cross train and get back in shape. But I think really what helped us all too was last year doing our filming projects. We were in the studio, maybe it was only 3 hours as opposed to our normal 7.5 to 8, but it was something, and we were working towards a project and we were out dancing, and it was like a slow progression back into what we're doing now. But these last couple weeks doing a full load again definitely hit our bodies hard for a little while.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned filming. I mean, I don't know anyone or any arts organization specifically that didn't dabble in video and digital content. And I would love to hear from you. You know, you do things in front of live audiences, and all of a sudden you're being asked to do this in a different way. You know, what were the big differences there, and what were the challenges in trying to, you know, doing a ballet that you perform live in front of audiences and then adapting something for an at-home audience?
One thing we noticed is that the floor wasn't, you know, we didn't have our special marley that we love. So we were on marble, and we were, you know, we did it at Union Station on that tile that's very slippery, and we had all different realms. I think Cameron, you choreographed in the Jazz Museum and had to do in like small hallways.
Oh yeah.
So we had to adapt a lot. It wasn't quite the same, but
Yeah.
we learned different ways of doing things. Like in a show, we can do a one-off, and you just, if things go wrong, oh well, move on, keep the show going. You can pull from the audience. Film, if you mess up, they're like, let's try again. But we would have videographers. They're like, can I get a full take from beginning to end? And you would give your all, and then they would say, oh, well, you know, I kind of need this one part again. So as a dancer in rehearsal, we'll say, okay, well, can we go from that moment on? But the videographer would say, no, I really want a full shot. And so all of a sudden you're prepping again to do it beginning to end, hoping that you can give as good of the show the second time around. Sometimes it was better. Sometimes there was like a slow, like crawl down where your body was a little tired.
Yeah, to jump on that, sometimes it's challenging to think about using the medium of film before you're at the shoot, because a lot of times we choreograph with the idea of an audience in mind. This is the front, and this is where we're facing, this is where we're engaging, but the camera can be wherever it wants. And one of the most unique things about film is that you can put the camera wherever you want. But oftentimes we want a shot from this angle, but we also want a shot from this angle. And we've been thinking about it with playing to this angle, but all of a sudden we're going to change that on you. Taryn mentioned my piece. All of a sudden the space was significantly smaller, which I had in mind, but then we flipped a section just because we wanted a certain background. And being malleable that way was a lot of, made for a big challenge, and made for extra runs. Like Taryn also mentioned, you know, we're used to doing it once and hit it, and good job everyone. But oftentimes it would be like 4 or 5 times on a film day. And you want your best, of course. So it was a challenge in that way. Especially
Yeah, but energy isn't this like endless source.
Yeah.
You know, doing things multiple times, especially Kalina with you and your recovery. How was that for you?
I luckily, I only missed, I believe, 1 series. They kind of filmed them in spurts of, so we were podded into 3 pods. So they would film them in spurts of 3. And I only missed 1 filming when I was recovering. So I got to do most of them. I was back dancing in most of them, which was great. I was so happy to be back. And in a lot of ways for me and what I needed for my recovery, it was a good transitional period to get me ready for full time, because like Taryn said earlier, we were only rehearsing at most 3 hours a day, and it was never as rigorous as our day to day because we were working in not ideal conditions, meaning we couldn't physically do the things that we normally could. We couldn't jump as much, we couldn't turn as much. It just wasn't going to happen with our safety in mind. But I do want to add that uniquely, this is to only the filming we did last year, but as a dancer, I felt a big challenge was having to figure out how to emote, because a lot of the pieces we were doing were more contemporary, meaning you needed to emote in a different way. It wasn't a story ballet where you had pantomime, and half of our face was taken away because we had to wear masks. So it was a challenge to figure out how to get the mood across, or whatever you were trying to get across with half of your expression being taken away. And so that was another interesting dynamic we had to figure out as artists.
Yeah, that would be so challenging.
I remember getting a lot of notes about our eyes. They're like, if we
Yeah.
lose your eyes, it's all over. So make sure you're looking in specific places and really engaging with the camera. I remember getting some feedback about that.
Yeah, actually what we're talking about is a good segue into this question that we got from our viewers. How do you prepare yourself to represent the emotional element of a work, particularly when you are dancing in more than one piece, like the upcoming performance? Want to talk about that? Taryn, maybe do you want to share?
You kind of prepare yourself with each rehearsal, especially these mixed reps. Each piece is so very different. But just like when you go in and you start working on all the steps, and you have to think about those steps, and each ballet has such different ones that as you're thinking about the steps, you also try and think about the mood you're trying to like portray out to the audience. For me, Serenade is it's emotional. It's serious, but it's also playful. It's very easy for me to switch back and forth because Celts is very bouncy and high energy and big smiles, and you don't have to have any control. I can kind of just go a little bit wild. So for me, my parts are so extremely different that it's a really easy switch back and forth. Also, the steps are completely different. And so that's an easier transition than say maybe Serenade and Wonderland are both a little bit more on a similar realm, just one's more classical and one's more contemporary. You might want to talk to Kalina about the switch between those two, but it's also been hard for us to prepare for that because we're still rehearsing with masks on. And you forget that you in rehearsal to show this much of your face, and we're also making kind of funny faces to be able to breathe that hard under a mask. So I've been trying to be more aware of what my face is doing underneath the mask in preparation for next week.
Wow, it's like there's so many things that you're overcoming right now, just getting back into it and the mask. Kalina, why don't you share a little bit about your experience there too?
Yes. Well, I personally, when it comes to talking about an emotion for a role or switching between ballets, like you had said, I love to do my best to research the role, the ballet. I love to know about the history to really understand what the choreographer was trying to say through the movement. And Balanchine is notorious for not having stories to his ballet. He loves the abstract. Nothing is dead set. But even though there is no story, there are very interesting historical elements to the ballet. For example, I am the waltz girl here in Serenade, and in rehearsal one day, the one dancer just showed up late, and all of the dancers hit a position that she thought was the very position of the beginning of the ballet, but it ended up to be the position of the end of the first movement of the ballet. But she didn't know that because she was late to rehearsal and hadn't been there. So she walks in, she looks at the dancers, and she goes to her spot. And she continues with the first movements of the ballet, and her spot's in the front, and she doesn't realize that it's the end of the ballet, or the end of the movement, excuse me. And so Balanchine kept it in. He loved it. And so when I come on for that last moment in that first movement, I really try and think of that girl in rehearsal arriving late, looking at her friends and saying, "Oh, I wonder where we are. We must be in the beginning of the ballet." And then also for Wonderland, which is the other piece that I'm in, Eddie Liang, who choreographed it, took inspiration from a snow globe. He was in Russia choreographing a ballet. And he said he would wait in the lobby of this hotel every morning, and there was this massive snow globe. And he would look inside this snow globe, almost life size, he said, and he would just try and envision all the lives that the dancers had. Well, what would be the dancers? For them, they were just little figurines. And so I like to think in Wonderland that he's created this whole little world for us in a snow globe. And I really love to research roles like that, to feel feel in it. So for me, it doesn't feel so hard to switch from one ballet to the other.
Cameron, what about you?
For this program, I'm in Celts and Wonderland, so maybe closer to Taryn, where they are definitely significantly different roles and different sensibilities in each ballet. And a lot of times making that transition mentally will come down to the music. Like this is a shot from our first day of rehearsal for the Green Man in Celts, which has we have like a big bombastic, dynamic, sharp, fun solo in the first movement, and lots of other entrances later. There's a lot of character. There's a lot of turn in. Like this is like a little flick jump that we're doing here that like sort of dynamically explodes out of a bunch of petit allegro. And so for me, when it comes to emoting on top of the steps, a lot of the heavy lifting is done by the music, I think, where if the music informs a certain, like in this particular role, like character or swagger or whatever, that those are the words that Betsy Coker, our stager, has been using, upbeat, dynamic, fun, confident. And then in a different role, for example, my role in Wonderland, as Kalina and Taryn have both said, it's a little bit more emotional. The music is Philip Glass, and it's hard to describe. It's not darker per se, but it's certainly not as showy or not as performative. It's more artistic in it's sort of repeats, and it's very musically complicated, and it makes for a deeper, more emotional ballet, and the choreography reflects that. So through the choreography and the music, they inform the character as much as what we bring to it contextually and from our own side artistically. So combining all those things together makes it sort of an easier transition from one to another, even within the same evening, just because as soon as the music goes on, you're in a different mood.
Wow, I love just kind of the range that you get to explore during these ballets. It just feels like you're able to kind of transform and have many different experiences. So audiences are going to see kind of a range on the stage. I'm curious, have you worked or danced any other ballets by any of the choreographers that are involved? And maybe you guys could just also share a little bit about the show. You've kind of mentioned about your pieces, but what's the story? What, just kind of share a little bit more information about what audiences can expect to see with this new ballet that's coming and opening your season. Kalina, you want to maybe share a little bit?
Sure, definitely. Well, I would say the program is kind of Kansas City Ballet at its best. It hits all of the notches of the range that we have, but we start off with Serenade, which is a timeless ballet. It's stunning. It's by George Balanchine. And I have done other George Balanchine works here with Kansas City Ballet. I actually did perform Serenade in 2012 when we did it here back at the Kaufman Center. And I've done a few other of his works here, which I've very much enjoyed. He's got a wonderful sensibility on how to choreograph for women, that you feel beautiful dancing his choreography, and you feel like you are shown at your best. But so we start with Serenade, and Wonderland is in the middle. So our girls don't choose a lot of the vocabulary that we're doing with our steps is ballet vocabulary, but in a very open-minded way. A lot of freedom of movement. The structure of the steps have been broken down in a way that you can't say a French word to call something an arabesque. You have to use another way to describe it, which is often a stager showing us, because it's just a step that the choreographer invented in his mind. And then after that, we have Celts, which is just a ball of energy, and it's unique in its dancing experience. I can't speak to it much. I'm actually not performing Celts. I know the other two can, but I've definitely seen nothing like it, and it's very entertaining, and it looks very fun and exciting to dance.
Well, I want to hear from the our other two panelists, but if you just happen to be joining us right now, we are in the middle of a dancer chat with three of the company members from the Kansas City Ballet. And this is brought to you by the Ballet's Community Engagement and Education Department, and which is just designed to engage the broader public with professional dancers at the Kansas City Ballet. And so for the past 40 minutes or so, we've been just chatting about their experiences and with our three panelists here of what it's like to perform at the ballet, and learning a little bit about their art form and the upcoming performance. I'm Bess Wallerstein-Huff. I'm with the Kaufman Center. I'm the Director of Marketing and Community Outreach, and it's just been a joy learning so much from you three, and love having just, you know, all this information, because I didn't know about this. You know, I didn't know about the experience, and certainly didn't think about what it was like to kind of overcome the last 18 months, and what an emotional and physical challenge that was, and how exciting it is to be able to share that, you know, in a week or so that we're gonna be able to experience your performing again at the Kaufman Center and Muriel Kaufman Theater. And Cameron, I'd love to hear a little bit about you and maybe your role in the ballet, or you know, just kind of how that fits into what we can expect to see.
Absolutely. Well, I think Kalina did an amazing job on talking about Serenade Wonderland. So I'll speak a little to Celts, I think. It's obviously a Celtic inspired ballet. And a lot of what I think Lila York is trying to do is emulate Irish dance through the lens of ballet and modern and contemporary dance. So there's a lot of, for example, in my role particularly, there's a lot of stillness in the torso and dynamism in the legs. It's one of the fastest solos I've ever learned in my entire life. It is absolutely bananas, but it makes it that much more dynamic and impressive to do if it's executed very well in the feet and very calmly in the torso, kind of like you watch traditional Irish dance. There's lots of beautiful partnering throughout. And one of the roles I believe is even originated by our own Devin Carney, the director of Kansas City Ballet, the Brown couple. And it all sort of wraps up in one of the most fun, unique packages, I think, that is so unique. I really can't express that. Like, I've never seen anything like it before. There's so much to it. There's so many dancers involved. There's so many dynamics. It's one of the only ballets I know to use bagpipes, which is kind of fun. So there's a lot to look forward to. I think it's really quite a closer and great counter programming to the rest of the evening. I don't know if you want to add to that, Turner, or anything like that.
Yeah, Celts is, I mean, there's nothing like it. Like they said, it's the first rehearsal, my mind was blown. We can pick up choreography really fast. I mean, you can spit out all the dance steps and we can very easily just nod our head and do them, no problem. But there are no names. I mean, there are probably names for these steps, but it's all Irish clogging. We don't typically do that when we train for ballet. So the first rehearsal was, I mean, my body just couldn't move that fast with that many steps that didn't feel like real ballet. It was turned in, it was jumping turned in, which we don't train to do ever. And the speed, the first day I remember her just putting on the music and we tried to do it. And I just started like this scream and my feet, I was just jumping up and down. I was like, I can't, my feet did not make sense at all. And I'm used to dancing really fast. That's fine. I just could not pick up this choreography nearly as quick. It took a lot. I still have to go over it constantly before we do a run just to not mess it up. So it's high energy. Like I said, nothing like it. It's a lot of fun. People actually came and watched rehearsal the other day and all of them were just tapping their feet. You could see it. Like, I feel like the audience is going to be that way. They're all just going to be tapping along with us and it's high energy. It's a good closer. And then Serenade is near and dear to my heart. I've done numerous Balanchine ballets between New York City Ballet and here. But Serenade, actually, I think they had a picture up earlier. It was my workshop to graduate from my ballet school. So there's 18-year-old me doing Waltz Girl at SAB. And that's how I got my professional job, was with that ballet. And I have not done it since. So this is like the one time I get to do it as a professional. I'm not doing Waltz Girl this time. Kalina gets to do that part. And so I've passed on some of my knowledge of that part, but now I'm tackling the really technically crazy Russian part of the ballet. And that has been a new challenge, and I'm really loving it as well. So that ballet, not only is it just a beautiful sentimental ballet for everybody, but it's one of my favorite ballets in the whole world. So I think it is very special to be coming back to the Kaufman stage and start with that.
Also, I think we'd be remiss if not to mention the opening of Serenade. And Serenade is opening the program. And it's one of, I'm not in Serenade in our production, but I actually have done it before. I did it in Rochester. And the opening pose of all the women with their like arms extended, it's like one of the most moving things you'll ever see in your entire life. I mean, the music is like just overwhelming, and the curtain going up for the first time in almost 2 years, something like that, on that particular moment, I think is going to be just unbelievable. It's going to be really special.
There's going to be tears on stage and in the audience for sure. Wow, what a powerful image to start with. That sounds amazing. We have another question from our viewers. What choreographer that you have never worked with or ballet that you have never performed would you choose to work with or perform, and why? So Cameron, would you like to start us off?
That's a tough question. We did a ballet here by a choreographer named Yuri Killian called Petite Moore. And I actually learned one of the parts with Kalina. I didn't get a shot at it on the stage just because we put it together very quickly. And that choreographer in particular, Yuri Killian, I think is just amazing. He's known for his work with Netherlands Dance Theater, which takes classical dance and contemporary dance and merges them and pushes them into the most creative, amazing directions you could imagine. And a lot of that is based on his work with that company. There are a lot of works by him that I really love, but that's the one that sprang to mind for me. And it has been on the Kansas City Ballet stage, so hopefully it comes back soon. Petite Moore by Yuri Killian, and any ballet by Yuri Killian really, but that's what sprang to mind for me, yeah.
Kalina, what about you?
Oh, this is an incredibly difficult question. As far as choreographers are concerned, I would say we've done a ballet by him before. We in the middle, somewhat elevated. The choreographer is William Forsythe. The stager came and did a wonderful job, but I would just love at some point in my career to be able to work with him. His idea of how he takes ballet to such extremes is really interesting to me, and I feel like I would just love to hear some of the things he would have to say and the ways that he could push the limit. As far as ballets are concerned, one high on my list actually is one that Cameron said. I would love for us to revisit Petite Moore. It's a beautiful ballet, and I didn't get the chance to perform it either the first time it came through. So I really hope at some point it comes again and that we could have a chance to be in it this time, Cameron.
I was gonna pick Forsythe, but technically we did his ballet, so I didn't say that. But Forsythe was also, he's notoriously nice and he's a genius at what he does, and he pushes dancers beyond what they're capable of. So that was my answer too, secretly.
All right, Taryn, what about you?
I love Killian, Forsythe. I actually would really love to do Vertige's Thrill of Exactitude. That's one of his that looks really fun and extreme. And I would love to challenge that one. And if we could, it was on our list before the pandemic. I want to do Rubies from Balanchine so badly. That is the only of the jewels I have not done. I've done diamonds, I've done emeralds, but that Rubies paw is everything. And I would love to be able to do that at some point. And either that or would like to throw a Tarantella in there one day, just to kind of throw myself around and have some fun. But yeah, those are my.
Well, now I have all these new people that I need to Google, and I'm assuming that some of the folks that are watching do too, because all of that kind of went over my head. But that made me think of another question. What, for someone who's never experienced the ballet, what should they expect? What would you tell someone who this is their first time seeing a performance, how do they know what they're watching, and how do you help them experience it to the way that you would like audiences to experience? Kalina, do you want to start?
Sure. If we're talking about this program in particular, I would just say, watch it visually as an experience. Serenade is such a beautiful ballet between the music, the dancing, and just the lighting. I would also want to encourage audience members that it's not, whatever you're thinking isn't wrong. A lot of these ballets don't have stories for this program. They're abstract. There might be an undertone of story or an undertone of emotion, and whatever you think or what you feel is right, is powerful. That is the art behind a work like that. And I think a lot of people, when looking at art, want to know exactly what the meaning was behind this or that. But the whole point is whatever you got from it is correct, and to open your mind and let it make you feel whichever way you want to feel and enjoy the experience.
I love that. Just come and be in a different world and just enjoy just this sort of interesting story, movement, it's mood feeling, kind of that the work gives you. What about you, Cameron? What would you share?
Well, I think that was really exactly it, is that there are no wrong answers for a mixed rep like this. Whatever the ballet makes you feel, whatever you enjoy about watching it, a particular dancer, a particular moment in the music, some fun formation that you didn't see coming, or some lift that was really exciting. That's it. That's the ballet. That's what we're here for. I'd say if you're looking for something concrete to grab on, it seems like a bit of a silly piece of advice, but read the program. There's just enough context there to understand what makes each ballet special, or how it fits in the canon of ballet, or how it is unique in some way, or who the choreographer is, or truly anything about it, what makes it special. So enjoy it for whatever it is. And if you're looking for something to grab onto, something to look for, there's usually a nice description of it.
That's great. So many times with, us being in the arts, we have to always remember what that first experience is like, because we just love seeing and being a part of, performances, and recognizing, wow, there's so many people who have yet to experience ballet, and who, this is maybe will be their first time when they come this month to see, these performers, and just have an emotional, and I remember the first time that I saw a ballet, I was like, they're not talking. And that was a surprise to me. That was something that I didn't know. I mean, I was, young at the time, but even when I see a ballet now, I'm like, oh, that's right. And being in that kind of a quiet place and not having, words coming at me, from a screen, or from, any of the ways, it's like a nice therapy a little bit, or a meditation in some way. I feel like when you experience a ballet, that you're just able to unplug and have this exchange of energy and story that's so different than what we usually get, right? Just reading on our phones and being on social media and all this. But Tara, what about you? What speaks about this experience that you would share?
Kind of along the lines of what they said. You can take it in. This is a good program to come if you've never been to the ballet, because most people think of ballet, they think of like the typical story ballets that can be a little bit longer. These are 3 shorter ballets, and there's no real story to most of them. There's a little bit, but nothing majorly concrete. They don't have to try and figure it out, but just take in like the beauty of it. It's a nice mix. There's a classical ballet, there's something contemporary, and then there's Irish Celtic dancing where we're all bouncing around. I mean, take in the beauty, but also take in like the athleticism. A lot of people don't realize how athletic we are. And I think this program really shows the range that we can all do, in terms of we can go from classical up to like this really athletic Celtic dancing. And so people can enjoy the range that we can all do in the same evening.
Love it. So we have another question from our viewers. What do you love about Kansas City Ballet? And then I will add, what ballet did you see that really kind of just sparked this love of the art form? I feel like there's always the one that you're like, I saw it, and this production or this, this ballet that just has stayed with you through, your entire career. Cameron?
What I love about Kansas City Ballet, I think the Kaufman Center and the Bollinger Center and the environment that they foster, to start there would be really amazing. We work in such beautiful spaces, and space is so important to us. We're obviously there all day, but for our bodies, for our moods, we're making and creating with each other, and it just makes for a really wonderful environment to be together. And then on a personal note, I just think the people here, the community here is just extraordinary. And it's not just me that says so. Every stager that comes through will make a point of saying that you have such a supportive community. You're very kind to each other. We worked well together, and that is something I've taken to from the moment I've been here. It can be like a really hard world. I mean, you're in a lot of pain, you wake up sore, we have long days, and you work really hard to get on the stage, and it just makes it so much more enjoyable when you're among colleagues who really respect you. And then to your second question, when I was in New York, there were a number of ballets that I saw that were like pretty unbelievable. I remember there was a particular production of Cinderella. I saw 2 different shows, and I saw Corey Stearns, who was a principal at American Ballet Theater, and I saw Stella Brera, and I saw Thomas Forster, who is now a principal, wasn't then, and Marianela Nunez, who's a principal at the Royal Ballet. And I remember I was very much aware of ballet. I mean, we have Facebook and Instagram, so I'm watching all the time and following. But I remember just getting knocked flat at how much gravitas they had. And the Metropolitan Opera House is like unbelievable. I remember that show in particular being like, wow, this is really special. Like, ballet is really powerful, and there's nothing quite like it. Something I hope to bring to the stage this time.
I love that. Helena?
Yeah, I have so much appreciation for Kansas City. Cameron hit on so many amazing points. It's almost hard to add to what he said. I mean, the Bollinger and the Kaufman Center, it's a blessing to have it. I was in the company when we were at our temporary location, which is now the Quixotic building, and we were still at the Lyric Opera. So I'm so grateful every day for those venues. But a big part for me that makes Kansas City great is this kind of dynamic that the dancers and even the organization have created, where we go in and it's not a job. All the dancers are very passionate about what they do, and they show up to work every day, and we all work hard. And it's so refreshing to be around other artists that want to be there and want to put their best foot forward every day, and they want to push themselves. And I love that environment so much. I'm very grateful to be one of the many in that room. As far as ballets go that stick out to me, this might be cliche to say, but it left a mark. The little baby me, 3-year-old me, going to see the Nutcracker was why I got in it. I'll never forget the sound in Snow Scene, which is the first time that it was Nashville Ballet that I saw. It was the first time that all the women had pointe shoes on, and I fell in love with the sound of the pointe shoes when they ran, which is a silly little moment, just running. They make a very unique sound, and I knew then at 3 years old that I wanted to be a ballerina, and I can say that ballet has stuck with me since then.
Love that. I think the Nutcracker is probably high on a lot of folks' lists of either how they were introduced or has become, their favorite, especially family tradition. What about you, Taryn?
I think what I love about Kansas City, you guys touched on all of it, is the friendships and the people we get to work with every day. It's so nice when we do a run. We all support each other. We all, give each other claps, and we all encourage each other whenever things happen. We actually performed recently at JCCC, and we got a note to stop encouraging each other so much because the audience could hear it. So we had to be a little quieter backstage because we just want to support each other, and we're excited to be out there. And it's nice to go to work with people like that every day. Plus, we're just doing something we love. So And the community supports us a lot. We know a lot of the people who come in and out of the building and who are the community outreach. We know all of those people, and it's just a nice community where we feel supported. As for ballets, like Kalina, it was Nutcracker. I did my first Nutcracker at 3, and I remember loving being on that stage. And then like growing up and continuing to do it, that ballet is still sticking with us. It's our tradition. Last year, not so much, but we'll be back this year. And I think that was my first experience, and just getting to grow up doing that just sticks.
Well, I love that. What a great way kind of to wrap up, of just reminiscing on that first ballet, or most notable ballet that really kind of made you want to pursue this path. I just want to say thank you so much to the 3 of you, and for everyone who is joining in this evening. We are so delighted to have you as part of this dancer chat, and we hope to see you at the Kansas City Ballet's opening season performance at the Kaufman Center for the Performing Arts in the Muriel Kaufman Theater, which is this weekend, October 15th through the 24th. So thank you all, and look forward to seeing you on stage and in your element again. So welcome back to the Kaufman Center. We're just delighted all around to have performances and all of you back in your home, and to welcome our audiences and our community back as well. So thank you all for tuning in, and we wish you a good weekend, and
Thank you so much.
bye.
Thanks,
Thank
Ryan.
you.
Thanks for having
Thank
us.
you.